That should be starting momentarily. I'm going to go ahead and get everyone checked in. And so as I call your name, if you could just unmute and let me know if you do have a name on the screen, if it's correct, and who you're representing here today, whether you're with the applicant or owner or some other party. So we'll start with, it looks like Esteban Chavez.
Yes, I'm here.
Great. And who are you representing here today?
ETC Produce.
Got it. All right. All right. You're the owner or?
Yes, I'm the owner.
Great. All right. Welcome. Courtney, is it Zunis?
Yes, that's correct. I'm with Platt. I'm the architect.
Okay, great. And we also have Trey Sheldon from the City of Cincinnati Zoning Department. Welcome, Trey.
Hello.
All right. On the applicant owner side, are we expecting anyone else to join us here today?
Alex Zindorf from Model will be joining, but she said she would be a few minutes late.
Okay, great. Do you want to wait for her? Or do you want to get started now?
We can get started.
Okay. I got one other thing I need to sort of read through before we get started. So as soon as I see her come in, I'll just let her in. All right. So this is the, I'm just reading through the hearing script. This will just cover the procedure for the hearing and then we'll jump into it. So this is the February 28th, 2024 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. The case before us today is case number ZH20240010. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. For our purposes here today, I'll allow either Ms. Zunis or Mr. Chavez to tell me about the case, background you think is important, what exactly it is you're proposing, the relief that you're requesting, and why you think that relief is appropriate. That's just the general framework that applicants bring to these hearings. Really, how you all want to orient your presentation is completely up to you. Both of you can speak, one of you can speak, you can share a screen, whatever you think is helpful for me to understand the project. If we did have anyone from the general public here, they would then have an opportunity to speak after the applicant had presented its case. I'll hear from the zoning department and Trey Sheldon here to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony that was offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do is to just swear in all of our witnesses. Looks like we have Alex joining us now, so I'll hold off on that for just 1 minute as we bring him in or her. Hi, good afternoon, Alex. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner. We're just getting things started here. So if you could go ahead and unmute for me for just 1 second. Mr. Chavez and Ms. Zunis said that we may be expecting you and that you're from Model Group. Is that correct?
Yes, sorry. It took my sound a minute to kick on, so I didn't hear you.
Oh, I just said I'm the zoning hearing examiner. I'll be presiding over the hearing today. I've already got everyone checked in and read through an initial spiel, but I just wanted to confirm that you are Alex Zindorf and you're from Model Group?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so anyone that intends on providing testimony here today, making comments, asking questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if you know at this time that you'd like to provide some comments or some testimony, I'm going to go ahead and collectively swear everyone in together. If you're not sure, I can swear you in later, but if you know you'd like to provide something, if you could go ahead and take yourself off of mute and raise your right hand. I'll need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
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 Okay. Great. Thanks, everyone. We have one more person actually trying to join us now, so I'm going to pause again briefly, try to bring this person in. All right. Hi,
That's
welcome.
Tansia. She's the other owner.
Okay. Hi, Tantia. Can you hear me okay? So could you unmute? Hi, Tantia. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati. I'm presiding over the hearing today. We just went through some initial script of the procedure and got everyone checked in. We're just about to get started. If I could just ask, are you also with ETC as an
Yes.
owner? Okay. Got it. All right. And Tansia, can you tell me your last name?
Chavez, Chavez.
All right. Fantastic. All right. Are we ready to get started on the applicant's presentation? Okay. Who's going to be taking the lead for us here today?
I will.
All right. Ms.
David?
Zunis, the floor is
David?
yours. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. You might want to let Ms. Chavez know if she was going to speak at all. You haven't sworn her in. Just so FYI.
Yeah. I was going to try and get started, but I
Okay.
can do that. I'm happy to do that now.
Oh, I just didn't want to miss that. So
Yeah.
if she wants
Sure.
to speak, sorry about that.
Thanks, Trey. No, it's fine. I appreciate it. Tantia, the zoning code requires that I swear everyone in before they provide any testimony. So if you intend on providing any testimony, I will have to swear you in. Do you think that you will have any testimony or commentary?
I don't think so.
Okay, great. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Ms. Zunis, I'll turn it over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I will share my screen really briefly just to explain the project. You guys see that okay?
Yes, sure can.
All right. So this is Paramount Launch at 954 East McMillan. This building is owned by Model Group and it contains 2 commercial spaces on the first floor. We're looking at this west commercial space right here. It was originally permitted as White Box A2 and the use has been changed to accommodate ETC Produce, who will be the tenant. And so now it's mercantile. We are in the, I don't have this memorized, T5MS Main Street zone in the form-based code. And that allows grocery, but it requires a use permit for alcohol sales. So this is a floor plan of the space. We'll have entry off the plaza on the left. The alcohol sales will be either coming from the coffee counter where they'll be selling individual glasses of beer and wine, or at the checkouts where people will be able to buy packaged alcohol. The intent with the beer and wine from the coffee counter is that people could grab a sandwich and sit here and eat lunch and have a beer with their sandwich. I also quickly wanted to share this study that Model Group conducted that just demonstrates that the community is interested in, obviously the food market is the overall priority, but also the restaurants and bars concept. And this isn't a restaurant or a bar, but it is just an alternative for lunch or happy hour. The hours are 7 to 7, so we're not dealing with any late night alcohol sales here. And I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay.
Would you like me to keep this up in case there are questions, or should I unshare my screen?
You can unshare. All right. Did anyone else from the applicant or owner side want to provide any testimony about the project before I move on to the city? No? Okay.
Do you need any comment from Model Group?
It's completely up to you. Again, I generally just like background on the project, what's proposed, and the relief that's needed, and why, and why they why anyone thinks that the relief is appropriate. So if you have
Yeah,
you
I
wanna
mean, the
add any
reason
commentary
that
to that?
I think it's appropriate, just to comment on like the holistic approach that Model Group takes, is when we build apartment buildings, right, we don't build amenity buildings. So you don't find fitness studios or pools or any of that community space in our apartment complexes. And the idea behind that is that the residents experience the amenity on the ground floor, the commercial. So we're really intentional with who we put in there. And you know, this building of what we consider like third spaces, places where tenants can spend time. So by having this ability to actually spend a bit of time in ETC, it changes the narrative of not just a grocery store, but also a community space.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Great. Well, why don't I turn it over to Trey, and I may have some questions after his testimony. We'll go from there. Trey?
Sure, David. So this development is just part of a multi-pronged, long-term redevelopment of this section of McMillan, as you're aware. The building received previous relief, but as Ms. Zunis pointed out, it was just came in as a white box. They couldn't know ahead of time exactly what use would necessarily go here as far as a tenancy. I will say that having reviewed other projects for this area and being very familiar with the different studies and so on that were done and in cooperation with the city and with the Walnut Hills Redevelopment Corporation and so on, I know that a grocery store was very much on their wish list for here. They have a kind of a farmer's market that's held in the parking lot area north of the Paramount building there on the corner of Gilbert and so on. I've actually been there shopping before, but since the Kroger's went defunct, there used to be a Kroger's here some years ago. And since that it became defunct and outdated, and I believe the land under it was owned by someone from California at the time, a real estate investor or something, and it was kind of almost a food desert for a while. So I know that this is very welcomed by the community. I just know that by way of background information, and I've referenced that in my those different reports and so on in my staff report. Ms. Zunis just shared part of that study with you as well, showing that priority. I think a lot of the primary reason why, at least in form-based code, where things are being a lot of redevelopments occurring, that they even put a use permit requirement in there for alcohol, is so that I mean that's equivalent of a conditional use, and one of the primary things we're looking at, and you are adverse effects. So if you had a you know, potentially a very rowdy bar type environment with a large outdoor eating and drinking area or something, it might be something where we'd be really looking closely at those adverse effects. But I don't see any of that here whatsoever. I think this is a place very limited in hours of operation and in scope. As far as any of that, I just can't see it disturbing, causing any disturbance whatsoever, really. There's things that we look at in conditional use analysis. That and the first prong of the test is it appropriately designed and configured, and the answer to that would be yes as well. It's a well-designed project. There's a plaza out there. Also, there are other buildings kind of in the works to be east of here, and those tenants will presumably also patronize this, as well as existing folks in the neighborhood. So I think it would be a very welcome amenity for everyone.
Trey, quick question on the use type permission. I see that it makes a distinction between general retail alcohol beverage sales and alcohol beverage sales at eating and drinking establishments. Is it the zoning department's opinion that those just sort of run together in this circumstance?
Yeah, I mean, also, as I put in my staff report, I mean, we would look upon any consumption there at the counter or whatever. I mean, that's probably not going to be their primary sales. Is a lot of it would be people taking things carry out and going back to their home. And so if anything, that's a secondary use. I would not characterize this place as, you know, a bar or an eating and drinking establishment in that sense, any more than I would a Kroger restaurant. This is, I mean, Kroger grocery. This is a bit smaller, but there are certainly groceries where you can go snack next to the deli or have a bite to eat. I don't here, but they are. In any case, those two uses are in the exact same section of the use table of the code and have exactly the same standards of relief. So, and both are permitted uses. So, however you think that falls, I'll leave that to you. But we just viewed this as an accessory to a principal, clearly a principal use as a grocery store.
Got it. Okay, thanks. And I mean, this is to anybody, I'm familiar with the neighborhood, but just for the record, this is essentially adjacent to a brewery, esoteric, and several other eating and drinking establishments with alcohol sales, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. All right. Thanks, Trey. Appreciate your testimony. Thank you for your time on the staff report. I don't have any. I do actually have one question. Will you guys have Angie T's kimchi and lion's mane mushrooms at this establishment?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, with that, does anyone have anything else in closing or otherwise before we adjourn? Okay, great. Well, yeah, I've had a chance to review the application materials. I'm very familiar with this neighborhood. And so, based on that, based on the staff report, and based on the testimony here today, I'm going to approve the application. I think this is sort of a blind spot or maybe a little bit outdated portion of this code. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I don't think it fits with the neighborhood anymore. So I think this is an appropriate application to make an exception to the zoning code. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I mentioned at the beginning that typically takes about 2 weeks. Hopefully that's a reasonable time frame. As soon as I finish that decision, I put it into a PDF. I'll email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. So you all have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. As soon as Trey has that, and I'll include him on that email, as soon as Trey has it, he can approve the zoning permitting on his end. And from a zoning perspective, you guys will be ready to move forward.
Great. Thank you so much.
Any questions about any of that? Okay, great. Well, if anything comes up in the meantime, feel free to reach out. Or if you just like a status update on the decision, just reach out. I'm happy to provide that to you. Otherwise, great luck on the project. Hope everything goes well, and have a good day. We're adjourned.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for your time.
Okay.